Hello, everyone. You're all welcome to another live session. So, guys, without any waste of time, we want to look at Tinubu's defense. We want to look at the constitution and also look at what to expect from them because we've seen that their defense is going to be very empty. So, today, Dr. Etel is here with us to throw more light on that because, from the look of things, Peter Obi has provided enough evidence, and the constitution is there to back his claim that he won this election. So let's look at how empty Tinubu's defense is going to be. Dr. Etel, please, over to you.
Viewers, I hope we have a wonderful time today. And I call it this lecture series, okay? Because being that we try to just go back to the law, the Electoral Act, and the Constitution, makes me feel like this is a good lecture for us to learn and to also appreciate what is happening in our political space in Nigeria. I like that word you use, empty. Yes. I think having had both the response they wrote to the Labour Party's petition, and the witnesses they presented, to the best of my own understanding, I could simply say that the defense is nothing but empty, hollow, and just a large can making noise. The reason is because, as I said, the Electoral Act, no matter the problem we think we could find in it, is as understandable as any other plain document anyone reads. And the same thing, the Constitution. Now, I'm going to rely on a few sections of the Electoral Act and the Constitution this moment to anchor my argument. First and foremost, we'll see what the law says. We'll see how both Inec, APC, and their candidates, from my own assessment, violated those laws. And then see how even their defense was not as superb as it could be to even make me feel like, oh, the Labour Party lawyers should go back and do their homework. By just looking at their defense, you don't even need to think. You could just say, if you subject this defense or this evidence or this testimony to this section of the Electoral Act or section of the Constitution, the whole thing will fall flat. Let me put it here that I am still thinking on that technicalities, the technical loopholes in the law that APC, their candidates, and INEC could rely on to be able to escape. And even if they found such technical loopholes, how much will be the weight of that technical loophole that they could rely on it to be able to, relieve themselves of the burden of evidence, of the burden of proof they need to produce to be able to exonerate themselves. Okay, let's look at the Electoral Act, Section 29, subsection 2. It says, the list or information submitted by each candidate shall be by an affidavit sworn to by the candidate at the Federal High Court, High Court of a state, or Federal Capital Territory, indicating that he or she has fulfilled all the constitutional requirements for election into that office. Now, what this section of the Electoral Act entails is that any information you submit, a candidate submits to INEC, information, it may be information by way of filling a form or information by way of submitting a document, that will be by an affidavit, meaning you were swearing an oath that what you're submitting is the truth. It means, therefore, that where you're supposed to tick yes, if for some reason your hand is shaking and you didn't know when your pen falls on no, or where you're supposed to tick no, and you carelessly or mistakenly or innocently or ignorantly, for whatever reason, ticks yes in the place of no, or no in the place of yes, you have sworn under oath that that mistake is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That is section 29 of subsection 2 of the Electoral Act. Now, how does it apply? Now, we begin to see now that there are certain places where this is already, as I'm saying it, your mind is going somewhere. Your mind is going to the place where someone may be asked, have you ever pledged an allegiance to any other country, to become a citizen of that country? And you tick no. If you have ever done so and you tick no, you have lied under oath. Am I right? So, if you are asked, have you ever worked in any public service, and you say yes, whereas you have never worked in a public service, you have lied under oath. So let's keep it there and proceed further to our Constitution, Section 137 of our Constitution, subsection 1. It says, a person shall. Now, whenever we read Constitution or matters of law, the word shall is the same thing as must.
Yeah.
A person shall not be qualified for an election into the office of the president if a subsection 1A, 137 subsection 1A. Remember, I told you that section 1, I said here that section 137 of our Constitution, subsection 1, has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. It has up to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, 10 subs. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyone amongst that 10 that you were found guilty of disqualifies you. If all 10 of them you fail in them, you are disqualified. If any one of them you fail in them, you're disqualified. So, if we go to section 137 of the 1999 Constitution, we don't have a new one yet. Subsection 1A, it says, subject to the provisions of this section of this Constitution, that candidate or that person has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of a country other than Nigeria, or except in such cases as may be prescribed by the National Assembly, he has made a declaration of allegiance to such other country. So, if you have voluntarily acquired the citizenship of the country where you are today, we are going to read section 28 to know what is a subject to provision of section 28. We are going to read it. In fact, let me read it immediately so that we can marry it. Section 28 of the Constitution, subsection 1 says, subject to the other provisions of this section, a person shall forfeit forthwith his Nigerian citizenship if, not being a citizen of Nigeria by birth, he acquires or retains the citizenship or nationality of a country other than Nigeria, of which he is not a citizen by birth. Meaning, my understanding of this section 28 subsection 1 means that if you are a citizen of Nigeria by birth, You could be a dual citizen of another country, like America, like UK, like Austria, like, it doesn't matter, like a Benin Republic. You can. However, when you are going to submit your information to INEC according to Section 29, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, you need to let them know.
Okay.
There is a question that was asked by INEC in that INEC form. Have you ever, they're not asking you whether you are by birth or not by birth. Have you ever, if you say no, and you have ever been acquired the citizenship, that's a problem. You remember, you do remember that APC and their people were actually trying to push for the disqualification of Peter Obi, that he used to have the citizenship of Great Britain, United Kingdom. And the man came and said, I never had it. I had what is called indefinite leave to remain, but not, I didn't naturalize. I did not swear an oath of allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen or His Majesty the King. But he said, but his children are citizens. His children, I think his children are citizens by birth. His children could still come and take up citizenship of Nigeria by reason of the fact that their parents are Nigerians by birth. But the question is, nobody is asking if you have been, whether it is a crime or not. The question is, did you declare it that you have ever been? If you did not declare it, case is finished. Why I am bringing this up is because when APC and their candidate, I say, and their, because they brought one witness, brought that witness, the current Senate Majority Leader, the question they asked him relative to this issue of dual citizenship in the case of PDP, I think PDP cross-examination, examination, they asked him, is it not that you know that our candidate is a Nigerian citizen by birth? And he said in the nation, okay, let us subject it to what you are saying here. Do you think it carries any weight? Is anybody contesting whether he's a citizen by birth here? Is anybody even contesting whether it is illegal to be a dual citizen and become a president of Nigeria here? The contestation here is that whether he's a dual citizen or not, I'm sorry, the contestation here is that being a dual citizen, he should let us know in the form that he is. But in the form, he said he's not. So it is a case of lying under oath. That is it. So if you lie under oath, you have defaulted in based on Section 29, subsection 2.
Sorry, let me ask a question. And the only punishment at this point is just disqualification and nothing else.
That's disqualification. Now, the issue, as we are going to explain later, is like in the issue of forgery. A forged document may have been submitted to Inec. Remember, we discussed it 2 days ago on our program. A forged document may have been submitted to Inec. However, genuinely, it's possible for some reasons. It is not the person that forged it. So the person will suffer the consequence of this qualification. But if the Attorney General chose not to charge the person to court for forgery, the person will escape any other further punishment. And if the Attorney General deems it necessary to charge the person to court for forgery, then he has the leave of the court, he has the liberty and the right as a citizen to come there to defend that I submitted this, but genuinely speaking, I was manipulated. I didn't know that it was fake. Remember, we tried to create a leeway for them day before yesterday when we said it's possible that somebody picks a phone and call a number and say, oh, is this so-and-so university? Is this NYSC? Is this Lagos State University? Is this Nigerian University of Nigeria? And the person, oh yeah, this is the registrar's office. What can we do for you? And collected money and sent a fake certificate to the person. Which means when pressed under law, the person can exonerate himself for having not forged the document, but cannot exonerate himself for not submitting a forged document. And the consequence of that forged document having been submitted under oath is disqualification. The appeal court in the case of ANPP and PDP in Bauchi State Federal House of Rep, as I mentioned, stated it clearly that the person don't necessarily need to have been the person who forged the document. In fact, there may even be forgery according to the law is even the alteration of an existing document, just ordinary alteration. If you use TPEX to clean one letter there, it's become forgery. So when you alter an existing document, it is forgery. If you create an entirely new one, it is forgery. And in all these things, you may be innocent. You may not know that you're, just like you stay in Lagos, you know how they have duped some people with fake pounds and fake dollars, fake foreign currency. If you came to someone who say, I am selling money, oh, you have Naira, you're traveling overseas and you need dollar, and they give you fake dollars. If police catches you with it, they could charge you, but innocently. You didn't know you bought fake. Mm-hmm. But you have a loss there. Even if the police releases you, you've lost your money. You've lost the Naira you pay to buy fake. I like to break things down so that people will understand this thing. I don't know why it looks like this thing is so big a thing to understand. So let's move again. Section 137, subsection 1D. So section 137, subsection 1A has now dealt with this issue of dual nationality. And I related it with section 28, subsection 1, showing that what PDP is pushing for in the case of dual nationality has absolutely nothing to do whether if you're a national of Nigeria by birth and you have the citizenship of another country, whether you're disqualified. They are pushing for the fact that in the form where that question was asked, instead of someone saying yes, because when you say yes, the next question will be which country? The person said yes. And because he has said yes, there was no need for the next question, which is which country? So he has deprived Inec the information of knowing a country where he had been a second citizen by saying no. Simple. And that is disqualification based on section 29, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act. That's disqualification. And you remember why I said that their defense is hollow was that the lead counsel of APC, I think Wilon Olanikbekun himself, SAN, asked the witness, the Obidati witness that went to testify for APC, that this passport you have here is expired. And the lawyer was very smart to say, yes, expired passport does not mean that the citizenship has been revoked. Even if the citizenship had been revoked, the questions did not say, are you currently a citizen of another national? He said, have you ever been before? Which means you have to first of all say, yes, I have been before. However, it's now revoked. Or I have never been before. So, in principle, the lead counsel of APC have now admitted that that person who owns that passport existed, that passport also existed, howbeit it has expired. Look, do you know there is even an expired passport is a powerful passport? As I am here today, as you are there today, you can travel with an expired passport, expired Nigerian passport, so far as your final destination is Nigeria.
Okay. Really?
You get to the airport, you show them the expired passport, and they say in the immigration, maybe at Schiphol or Charles de Gaulle or what do you call it? Frankfurt, Heathrow, JFK, anywhere, you boldly just flash them your green passport. They say expired, you say, yeah, I'm going home. I'm going home. And when you land in Lagos or in Abuja, you pull out your expired passport and you give it to the immigration. What are they going to do to you? You're home. It is called travel documents. And you are in your country.
Yes.
The only power of a valid passport is that you can use it to travel out of your country or in between countries. But if you're heading back home to your motherland, do you need a passport to live in Nigeria? Do you need a passport to travel from there to Port Harcourt? So, you can still, it's not a completely useless document. It is not. Okay, so you see, we have debunked the arguments because the question they asked their witness suggests that the only claim they are coming there to make is that this man has a right to hold another citizenship because he's a Nigerian by birth. But that's not the question they are coming to defend. They are coming to defend why he said no when he should have said yes, period. They are coming to defend why he should violate Section 29 of the Electoral Act, subsection 2. Okay. Section 137 of the 1999 Constitution, subsection 1D says, a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if he is under a sentence of death imposed by any competent court of law or tribunal in Nigeria. Sentence, because the sentence for death may be different from state to state. There are some countries that don't even carry out death sentence again. Then it says again, or a sentence of imprisonment or fine. Imprisonment or fine for any offense involving dishonesty or fraud by whatever name called, or for any offense imposed on him by a court or tribunal, or substituted by a competent authority. Now, look, the moment we are done with death sentence, which must be death sentence issued in Nigeria, the rest start talking about any competent court, any competent tribunal, any constituted authority anywhere. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to debunk these people, you know, when they ask the same lawyer who practiced in New York and forgot that the forfeiture that is being contested here under the USC codes, all those codes mentioned, 192, 192, all of them, when you go online to read them, they are criminal charges, as it were. They are all about talking about forfeiture, criminal forfeiture. But they were trying to say that it's a civil forfeiture. They came to argue whether it is a civil forfeiture or a criminal forfeiture, which means they have now found out that section 137(1)(e) that they were anchoring on before is null and void when they were saying, oh, this is more than 10 years. Because if they go to say it is more than 10 years and they accept that it is a criminal forfeiture, remember that out of the 10 elements in section 137 subsection 1, any one of them could nail you. And you can see that it brings in different things like citizenship, like capital offense, like embezzlement, like even having a mental challenge if you're not sound enough. All of them came in under that section, and each one is independent of itself. So technically, they have admitted that that offense occurred. They are now trying to weigh it. Is it weightier or lower? And I am glad for the smart interrogation or cross-examination of the LP counsel when he asked the lawyer, is it not the SC code 192? I think yes, 192. And he said yes. Nigerians are smart. They all quickly rushed to the internet to check what that code stands for. And they found out that the code that the only witness they brought to defend themselves is actually a criminal forfeiture code. That is why after that defense, a lot of people start saying that the senator actually came to help the LP in his witness.
Oh my God.
He came because other thing is that there was a document that this political party submitted. They said they were going to rely on the report of that document, ECOWAS report on the election. They completely rejected that of EU. Fine. So the LP council did not bother so much as it had to do with the EU report. But they asked him, the one you people tendered in evidence, and you say you're going to rely on, can you open it and read? And he read a section of it that was talking about riots, killing of people, and what have you. And right there in the witness box, he turned and said, no longer agree with the report. They can only agree with the final summary. The same report, the same evidence you tender, you are rejecting it in court. I am still wondering. So you could see that section 137, subsection 1A and D are issues here. They have to justify how they can wriggle out of it. But it's not finished. The third one in the same section 137 of the 1999 Constitution, you see, I am deliberately repeating it whenever I'm deliberately, because I want to repeat it to the extent that any viewer will say, let me even go and visit this Constitution and see. And the reason why lawyers come on air and they bamboozle us is because we never take time. Every day they go to court, they read this thing. So it makes it look like there's another kind of holy grail that, no, it's just a document that they read all the time. Just like a medical doctor read medical books all the time and the bankers read all their whatever every day. But that document is available for everyone. J, the J part of it, a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if he has presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission. If he has presented a forged certificate. So, have you not seen online 2 certificates being paraded? And the fact that the logo on the certificate differ. And the one that was submitted to Inec, there is a popular website where you can, they call it, where you can buy fake certificates. If you go, you will see that there. All you just need to do is to insert the name. And then you also notice that Inec stamped that one.
But does it mean INEC does not have the right to like investigate some of these documents before they are admitted?
Yes, that is one of the errors of the current Electoral Act.
Honestly.
Yes, it's not the duty of, because INEC is saying they don't have that kind of resources to go and begin.
To go and start investigating.
Not the DSS, they're not, it's not their duty. If you submit it and you think it is real, it's your business.
Okay.
Yes, so Inec is covered in that respect.
Okay.
The only thing is, before election, the person who competed with the person has a right to raise it and go to court. Like in the case of the Federal House of Rep in 2017, 2018, during their primaries, where two PDP people were in contention. The other person that won the primaries were found guilty of forging Federal Polytechnic MUBI certificate, and he lost his position because it was pre-election matter. That's why when PDP went to court, the court threw it out, saying there's no local standard because it's a pre-election matter. But back again into the court, Labour Party is handling it as a post-election matter, the issue of the forfeiture and all those things, and
So
the double nomination, which we're coming down to.
So if our Electoral Act was to go and was to be reformed now, what would be your suggestion as regards to
aspect of vetting? Should be, maybe they could hand it over to the, I don't even know. There are a whole lot in that Electoral Act, like where they say any transmission as specified by Inec. They didn't use the word IREV. IREV is just the name, but it's transmitted to the cloud. Maybe they want, maybe they will have, you know what? The Electoral Act was a good act. You know why? Because the Electoral Act provided for Inec to produce their own guidelines.
Yes.
And
like somebody was saying that it wasn't compulsory for Inec to have transmitted to the IREV.
No.
But since they came up with that guidelines,
no.
They have to follow it.
Compulsory. That is another place I say it may not be compulsory, but the implication is compulsory. Because why the implication is compulsory is because Section 64 of the Electoral Act stipulates that in the process of collation, if a dispute arises, the collation officer shall follow these steps. Step number 1 is a physical result that may have been tampered with. Any party could have tampered with the result. That is, the polling, the presiding officer could have a result. The police could have a result. And the political party could have a result. Between that place and the polling unit, he feels like, I don't like this 17 my party got, and added 0, it becomes 170. When he gets there, it will become a dispute. It's going to be the word of everybody there versus his own word. And the law says the collation officer did not say that the collation officer should rely on the police copy or on the agent's copy. The law did not even say that the collation officer should rely on the copy that was handed over to him or her by the presiding officer. It says that that particular result being carried to the collation center by the presiding officer becomes exhibit number 1. That should be considered. Exhibit number 2 is the beavers. Exhibit number 3 is the beavers record transmitted. And the exhibit number 4 is the result that has already been transmitted. So you see now that it makes it, by reason of that section 64, it becomes mandatory. Because there is no way you can cross the bridge of verifying without referring to what is in the cloud. Let us say, okay, you might say, oh, there may be a delay in the upload. It must not be that day. It could be done the next day. It means that everything about collation must stand down. Everything about collation must stand down until uploads are over.
And even up to now, we've not still finished uploading.
So are you seeing it now?
Yes.
So if the judges decide to put human face and say there was a network failure, fine. The whole national grid collapsed. All the Amazon Web Services collapsed that day. That was a glitch on that day, fine. Was there a glitch the next day? Was there glitch the third day?
Even after 1 month.
Inec had a leave of even more than 7 days to declare the result. Why are you rushing to do it that quick? So, do you know anywhere the IRF copy is blurred or mutilated, any political party by law can say we challenge that result? And there is no way INEC, that polling unit will not be cancelled, because the only provisions through which the collation, the disputes can be resolved. Was it not on Friday we did it? Or I think it was on Friday or Thursday. I think it was on Thursday that we did it. Can't remember, last week. When when we came with a chart of the what I call the presidential protocol from the polling unit to the World Collation Center. You see the chart. So it makes it practically impossible for collation to occur without IRF copy. And that brings me to the argument of the INEC Deputy Director in charge of ICT. We played his video here where he said it emphatically, agreeing with me here that it is impossible for collation to occur without the IRF copy. But when he got to the court, they asked him, and he said, yes, collation can be done without IRF copy. And then when Labour Party asked him to read the document, he used his mouth to say that the document is blurred. And that document was a document that was certified by INEC, having been downloaded from IREV. So he himself, in charge of ICT, used his mouth to say to the hearing of the court that it was blurred. So how can you reconcile
blurred documents
with a blurred document, whereas that document is supposed to be the arbiter, supposed to be the gold standard under which every other result must be compared with before it is accepted? So, do I really need to be a judge to think that INEC messed up? Or do I really need to be a judge now to think that the violation of that particular section of the Electoral Act actually injured the integrity of this whole election? And that any party can say, I could have won, if not that I was rigged out by reason of this blurred results. And that takes us to the 18,000 polling units that Labour Party tendered because from IREV, because they are either blurred or the results are mutilated. What is the implication? The 18,000 polling units, if there are only 100 people that is accredited there to vote, that's 1.8 million. 1.8 million is greater than the gap between INEC declaration for APC and INEC declaration for PDP. If it is 150 people, that will give you 2.7 million. 2.7 million is greater than the gap between INEC declared APC and INEC declared Labour Party. If there are 200 people there, that's 3.6 million. That would be greater than INEC declared APC, and just continue, you can imagine. So how will the judge just wake up and say, everything that INEC complied substantially? No. INEC did not comply substantially in accordance with it, because the law says there may be some errors, but it will not be substantial enough to warrant. Can't we see that INEC did not comply substantially here? So INEC defense in the court so far as we've heard, you can see that it is empty. It is empty. You said collation can happen without IRF. We have debunked it. Section 64, Section 47, Section 60. These three major sections that had to do with what is called the chain of custody that will guarantee the integrity of the election from the point of the result declaration, accreditation, voting, declaration, and collation. INEC bunked it. So when people ask them, where did you get the result you declared? They should be able to tell us. Because from the law, we don't know that they have a result so far. Okay, well, your question pushed me to Inec. We're done with Inec now, okay? Let's go to double nomination issue. The double nomination issue, again, borders on the rigidity
Sorry, please, let me just remind our viewers that we are looking at how baseless Tinubu's defense is. So that's just what he's throwing more light on.
Yes.
So, Doctor, you can continue.
Exactly. How empty their defense. In fact, in this court they came, how empty their defense were. Now, so you can see that in section 137, subsection 1A, D, and J, any one out of these three that the court upholds becomes disqualification of the APC candidate. Any one of them. Section 35 of the Electoral Act, it says, where a candidate knowingly allows himself to be nominated by more than one political party or more than one constituency, his nomination shall be void. So, we have mentioned it here. APC submitted the list, the name of their vice presidential candidate on a day like today, whereas that vice presidential candidate was still, that vice presidential candidate's name was still, had been in the Inec register, Inec database as a senatorial candidate for Borno Central Senatorial District. It's like it occurred to them after 24 hours before they went to withdraw it. The law says, if you don't want to continue in being elected in a certain constituency, you must withdraw it. But you cannot have double nomination for two constituencies. Nigeria as a country is a constituency, as a country. And the president and the vice president, the constituency they are representing is Nigeria. A senatorial district is a constituency. A governorship is, the whole state is a constituency for the governor. So by the time, I think it was on the 14th of July, if I'm correct, I can't remember precisely the date, Inec shut down their office and went home. One person's name was appearing in their database for two positions. One, for the vice presidential candidate of APC. Two, for the APC's senatorial candidate for the Borno Central. It was only after 24 hours plus that the name got deleted for senatorial candidate and the vice presidential candidate is remaining. And APC and Labour Party and PDP is saying that was double nomination. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Because if it was any other political party, there were a lot of people that INEC denied submission of their names because they say our time cuts here and you didn't come before that time. So they deprived them their candidacy. Yet, INEC, you took in someone for two constituencies for up to 24 hours. Okay? You remember that these things are, the law is rigid in these issues. So far, let's do a recap. Matters that could disqualify. Now, the only reason why this section 35 of the Electoral Act will affect them is because whatever affects the vice affects the president too. So we've talked about the dual citizenship. Section 137, subsection 1A dealt with having dual citizenship. Section 28, subsection 1 says it's possible for you to be a citizen by birth and still be another citizenship. So the argument APC presented that their candidates is a Nigerian citizen by birth, so he's exonerated, did not hold water because they fell flat in obeying the rules set out in Section 29, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, which states that any information you submit to Inec must be accompanied with an affidavit. You are swearing an oath. And so if you are a dual citizen, all the law is required of you is to say yes. And then, if it is the kind of dual citizenship that allows you to become president or governor, you tender the proof that even though I'm a dual citizen, I am still eligible. But for you to say no, you have broken Section 29, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act, even though your citizenship couldn't have denied you the office you're looking for. APC came to prove that he's a Nigerian citizen by birth, but that is not the offense that Labour Party and PDP are saying that he committed. They are claiming that he committed offense of saying no when he could have said yes, period. And the penalty is disqualification. We've heard about certificates that the one submitted to Inec is not exactly as the one that was submitted, that released by the university. We've also heard about NYSC discharge and exemption letter issued in 1983, whereas NYSC Act that brought in exemption later started in 1985. So is it possible that someone got his own exemption even before it become a law? Just like in Enugu, is because of the Enugu issue, because today I noticed that the Enugu guy also submitted, the House of Assembly guy we talked to yesterday, submitted a suit, the OND, and I was chatting with people today. I'm like, I thought it's IMT that issues OND. I didn't know that they should. I said, okay, no problem. The most important thing is that he submitted first school living certificate that was issued by the Enugu State Primary General Education Board, signed in July 1990 and issued in 1990 by Enugu State Primary and Post-Primary Education Board, whatever body that gives first school living certificate. Whereas Enugu State was created in August 1991. So he got his own in Enugu State even before Enugu State became a state. Good for him. Another person is getting ISC discharge exemption letter in 1983, 2 years before it became an act. Good for them. So that makes the act to come on the head of the person. Now, when also Labour and APC is producing the record of their candidate as a student of a certain university, I don't think anybody's, oh, not me, not anybody, me. I particularly don't want to know whether the person was a student or not a student. You could have been a student, and like he said, I'm a burnt took my certificates and co. Fine. What they are saying is that copy submitted there was not the same copy issued. You know, a university can change their logo times without number. You agree with me? But what you're going is not issuance of new certificates. When you say certified true copy, it means the original one they issued to you, that the copy is in their file. Whenever you go, they photocopy it and stamp it. So the question is, the logo that is on this certificate that is found with Inec, was it the logo of that university in 1960? Was it 69? In 1969? Or in the year it was issued? Remember that when you alter an existing document according to our courts, the judgment precedent is forgery. So APC is trying to prove that he was once a student. I don't think PDP or Labour Party is contesting whether he was once a student. They are saying this paper you submitted, the character that they used to type your name is different from the character that was used to type it by the university. That's all. In fact, if the university spelled your name as John Michael John, and you now print a new one with the same certificate number bearing John M. John, it is forged because it's not a photocopy of what the school have in their file. What you need is a photocopy, not a recreation of the content. Does that make sense?
Apart from that, even the gender also has a question.
Created an alibi for those. The university made a mistake in their typing. They typographically made a mistake. Let's not fight what is not giving us anything. There is the element. The element that is being contested here is simple. The document is, even if the university made a mistake and put F, you do not have any right to return it to M.
Yes, you don't have to change it.
Yes.
Changing it will be forgery.
It is your duty to get them to admit and correct it and reissue it. So, we've dealt with double nomination, section 35 of, now remember that PDP went to court and the Supreme Court said for policy's sake that the candidate wrote their party. We're not talking about if you wrote your party today and your party decided out of their own delay to submit your name tomorrow, and when they're submitting it, made mistake in the queue of the submission. Should another person not say you didn't do it well because your party had good intention and they did it wrongly? They said you must withdraw before you replace, but you replaced before you withdrew. When you wrote your party is immaterial. Your party eventually came to execute your mandate of telling them you're withdrawing, but they mistakenly executed it. Well, go meet your party to suffer with your party. That's the implication. The law says you're disqualified. All right. I don't think we've dealt with dual citizenships, document forgery. Document, it covers degree certificate, NYSC. We've dealt with forfeiture. We've seen that it's a criminal issue, and such criminality has been pointed out in section 137, subsection 1D of the 1999 Constitution. And we've dealt with Inec non-compliance, which are referred to section 47, section 60, and section 64. The only argument they raise is that collation that can be done without upload to IREV. But that will jeopardize the import of any form of dispute. It means they implied that there was no dispute, no contestation of results in this election. Because it is only when there is no single dispute raised that you can say, well, thank God. That is only when there is a dispute we can refer to IREV, and there is no dispute. So what is the implication again? What if a political party say, in fact, the whole 176,000, I am disputing all of them. Anyone I didn't see on IREV is under dispute. Law not be fair to them. Whenever we come here, I think we're going to do it in 30 minutes, but then this discussion just draws.
We are close to an hour.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Telbert. So we've seen that their defense is really baseless, honestly. We are just hoping that the judiciary will do the needful. They just have to uphold and defend our democracy, because this election is going to determine the future of Nigeria. It's going to determine so many things, so many things. So our judges should not just joke with this. Nigerians, our eyes are on them, and they don't have any other option than to just deliver justice. That's just what we want. So,
Yes.
guys, thank you all for joining us this evening. Dr. Tebert, thank you very much for breaking it down to the point that a layman will understand it very, very well.
It's
Honestly, it's
my pleasure.
very clear what the Constitution said. Even the Electoral Act is very, very clear. But sometimes they will just like try to confuse the masses. But Nigerians are wakening up as everybody wants to know what is happening, what did the Constitution say, and you guys have been doing a very good job as in breaking down these things, and you find out that people are getting that interest, is really increasing. People want to know, people want to listen, people want to understand so that they will know exactly what to say at any point in time. So
It's
thank you very, very much for your time. And tomorrow we'll equally be here to keep discussing all these points, breaking it down, and also enlightening the obedient family so that we'll know what Peter Obi journey is like. Hopefully, his mandate will be given back to him. So thank you very, very much for joining us, and see you tomorrow. Dr. Talbot, good night.
all right. Thank you. Good night. See you next time. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.